All right, so we've gone through the note. Just to back up a little bit, before this time period, we've had kind of a neoclassicism up to the Louis. So we had Louis the 14th, Louis the 15th, Louis the 16th. We had like structure and order. But then you get to the French Revolution, and that time is where we really kind of embrace the Romanticism. Romanticism is our age of revolution, starting in 1789 and ending with the revolutions of 1848. Things in history are reactions to other things. Romanticism and the revolutions were a reaction to the order and structure of society, as well as the order and structure of neoclassicism. Neoclassicism is that last form of art that we studied. Very symmetrical, very ordered, very much rules. There were rules to how you painted. It was very kind of like Renaissance painting, symmetry and balance and pyramid configuration. So Romanticism is a reaction to the way society was. Can anyone think of what reaction we're going to have now as the revolutions end and Romanticism is ending? Realism. Yeah, so realism will be a reaction. So we're going to see things bounce back and forth. Everything is a reaction to something else. So the Romantic period really starts with these dreamers of the revolutions. Not so much logical thinkers, but dreamers. Yes, ma'am? Yeah, Rococo is going to be before. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, French. But you will see like pieces of Baroque and Rococo picked back up. And so where you're seeing some of those blended later, we'll talk about that. But like a student last year was like, but the Baroque period was during and I'm like, they overlap. It was very ordered, but grandeur as well. So art periods and music don't always have a clear stop and end. I do like to say Romanticism is very characterized from the beginning of the French Revolution to the end of the revolutions of 1848. And what's ironic is you can think about why the revolutions and all of these failed was because they were unorganized and unplanned and had less experience and less age behind them. So the Romantics go, oh man, maybe dreaming it isn't enough. Like maybe we need to like plan. And see, I already started. Like I'm already cynical about it. Sorry. And so that's where realism will come in. Like maybe we really should plan this next attack and go. So we're going to see this age of Romanticism give way in our next unit to realism and like the world is harsh. This is what we need to do and that kind of thing. All right. So we're going to talk about a lot of people, a lot of paintings, a lot of musicians. You don't need to know them all. I want you to pick two, and the two pieces of work you understand the fullest, and I want you to roll with that in each category. You need enough to be able to name drop. The Romantic period comes from this time period of Romantic languages like French and Italian, and so that's where it gets its name. It's from that cultural vibe of France and all of these revolutions here. And so this is our next to last ism, like I said, and we'll be done with 6.1. All of this is going to start in Germany and is going to be kind of Romanticism and nationalism combined. Grimm's fairy tales, which I'll talk to you about the Edmodo assignment, is my example I used, is a great example of German Romanticism. And so we're going to see it start in Germany, but it's named after the Romantic languages. And characteristics of Romanticism are that it puts emotion over reason. So where we had those logical thinkers before, when things were very structured and things were very planned, like the old order, now you're going to have people going, like, I think it, therefore it is, like I think it, and I'm going with my heart, and I'm just going to throw caution to the wind. That's going to be our romantics. It's very individual. Like, you should march to the beat of your own drum. Don't worry what others are doing. Also, glorification of nature we'll see again. So we're going to have that, instead of studying nature and science and why it works, it's just like, oh, nature, let us be one with it. Like the pollution of the Industrial Revolution is killing our earth, and like we need to do something about it. It's very feeling. Like I feel the earth. I can feel its pain. That's romantics. Not study the earth, what we can do to stop the pollution, but like I feel the earth. Like we should just feel its pain, be one with nature, and so forth. So glorification of nature emphasized its beauty and its temptuousness, kind of the craziness of nature. We're going to see some really cool art. We're like, whoa, nature. And Matt just makes the lecture with what?
This may be the largest artistic thing
I've ever done. An onion. All right. So, so where the Enlightenment individual wouldn't have been like Matt and would have studied the onion, the romantic just goes with it and just draws the onion. Okay, like there's our example. All right. They rejected the Enlightenment view of nature as a precise, harmonious world. To a romantic, it's just all like we just never. They love the craziness of nature, like let's say like my husband and he and I are so different. He's like a storm chaser, and I am just like, you better have your life insurance paid. I am in the bathtub with a mattress, just going, oh dear God, if you don't let this take me, I will do whatever. Like we're totally, he's just out there, like with a metal umbrella and golf shoes on. Like, I mean, just go. So they rejected also the Enlightenment view of the past, which was counter-progressive to human history. I don't want you to think they don't like history, though. They pick and choose the parts that are the most romantic, the most appealing, like the Middle Ages and chivalry and knights and lords and ladies, and they leave the rest of it that's very progressive and calculated alone. Yes, ma'am? I know I'm not doing a good job. Should I just go full on then? I'm not doing okay. I can't do it. I need to like find you guys a recorded lecture from a better at not giving their personal view. I just can't. I just. All right. Romantics encourage personal freedom and flexibility. I think I can agree with that, but they emphasize feeling humanitarian movements. So they're going to be like, I feel the plight of a slave. We should end slavery, which isn't a bad thing. They just never really think of like a way to get it completely done. Like Wilberforce that we talked about, like he was a planner. Like he spent his whole life, he was a planner, but with a romantic ideal. I can end slavery, but he made it happen. A lot of our romantics just have these grand dreams, and it's just like I don't know, like I don't want, oh, right, I'm already there, so I'm just going there. It's like those people that like chain themselves to a tree. Like, that's cool. I get it. Trees are cool. We should protect big old trees. But did you not think past the fact that either you're going to die, chained to, you have to have food and water. And so ultimately, who's going to win? Or do you think of a plan that doesn't involve you dying to protect this tree? I just think that there's a better option there. And I mean, you choose which option. Oh. Yeah, I don't guess it's not so much like, I don't know, when we get to some of the literature, maybe. Yeah, I guess I never thought of it in a hippie-esque form. I just think of like the kind of like, like people make a decision, but they don't really think about how to actually get there. Like, but yeah, I guess hippies weren't very organized in all aspects either. Not all hippies. Some hippies were like cool and planned things out and went on to be successful and planned and got what they wanted. Others just had some really great stories to tell after. So, in some cases, they drew upon, like I said, themes, ideals of the Middle Ages, honor, faith, and chivalry. Very popular in German. We'll see novels of Sir Walter Scott. Gothic architecture is going to come back for my Gothic people who are calling Poe up there. We'll see in Central and East. Matt, I'm like, you're almost making me love Romanticism, yeah. Or almost hate it more. I don't know whether to worry about you, Matt, though, that your romantic urges are just taking you towards produce. All right. So we have left reason in the Enlightenment, as Matt has clearly showed us, and we have moved into the reaction to that, which is just pure and uncontrolled, uncensored emotion. Best lecture ever. I'm going to get tons of followers off this YouTube. All right. So there are some forerunners to Romanticism that we have discussed before. They're not romantics in the fact that they were like, I'm a romantic. They are ideas that people pulled from to lean more romantic during the time period. Remember when we talked about Rousseau and I said he was like he was our bridge between Enlightenment ideals and Romanticism? He really is our bridge. He would have seen himself as an Enlightenment individual, but he was very unpopular in the Enlightenment. He becomes very popular in Romanticism. He's our bridge between. You could use him in a paper about Enlightenment or about Romanticism. He would be great if you got a comparison paper between the two and you called him the bridge. Like, I'm thinking you're getting some points from an old white guy there. So forerunners. He believed in freedom, which is what really makes him a romantic. Like, we should have freedom. It's society putting us in chains that makes, believe that man becomes a noble savage in a state of nature. And so, like, the chains of society and materialism corrupt us, but we are these great noble beings on our own and free. And so, so a forerunner there. Immanuel Kant, that we talked about just a little bit. Accepted rationalism of the Enlightenment. So he's another kind of like, I accept this part of the Enlightenment, but I'm also going to go romantic while preserving his belief in human freedom, immortality, and the existence of God. He doesn't go all deist like some of our other Enlightenment thinkers. He's like, I don't think we need to prove the existence of God. That is a feeling. That is an emotion. That is something that logic shouldn't be used for. He helped establish philosophy as a separate branch from religion. So philosophy is something you plan on studying in college. Thank you, Kant. Romanticism, like I said, comes from the French Revolution time period. Just do that in there because we didn't have anywhere else to go. Sturm and Drang, which is storm and stressed, is going to be used by the German Romantics because of Kant in the 1770s and 80s, conveying emotional intensity. It means what it says, it says what it means. It's storm and stress. So it's going to show like all of the. They don't expect life to like be like this simple, like mellow, like everything's raw up, and they're like a very romantic person. It's just like, oh, the things that happened to me today, like everything. Like, I don't know. I guess I have one of those days. Did I just go all romantic on my? I had to leave 3 times, and life was hard. Oh, yes. George William Friedrich Hegel. We are going to come back to him later. He is gloriously looking at me all the time. Like, I left this up on my computer and fell asleep making this PowerPoint over the weekend. And I woke up and I was like, how the computer didn't go to sleep, I don't know. But I fell asleep looking at the slide and woke up with him looking at me. And I was just like, okay, that's enough. I think he knew how bad I was going to treat Romanticism. It's like he knew. Like, doesn't he? He's like, look at him looking at me now. He's like looking in my soul. You should like all right. He's going to come back, so you probably want to circle him, like literally. I'm going to find a different picture for the next one. That's going to haunt me. All right. He is our leading figure of German idealism. He gives us the idea of the dialectic. And so it's kind of a cool idea. It's all like really hard to follow on this cute little chart that is everywhere on the internet when you look up the dialectic. But the dialectic is the thought that you make a thesis and argument, which should sound very familiar to you. But every time you make a thesis or argument, something is going to come to challenge that argument. So let's say our thesis is white. Then an antithesis, an antithesis, an antithesis would then be developed, and we'll call that black. So black comes to challenge your white. And because of these two ideas, then there will be a new product, a synthesis, gray. But then something's going to have to come challenge gray, a la pink or brown, and that will result in something that has to come challenge that, red. So it keeps going on and on. So every argument or thesis you make will be eventually a new product down the line. And it looks like Matt had his paper like he has a new product. Well, it's a carrot plus an onion.
This is the kumquat.
It's a kumquat.
Yes.
So, see, we can make this work, Matt.
Just make a new art.
So Matt's original thesis was an onion, and that led us to then a carrot. And then that led us to our new synthesis and Laura's
And
rabbit on a carrot in outer
then
space.
lettuce.
All right, and it keeps going. So that's the dialectic. Please do not describe it in the terms of a carrot, an onion, and a rabbit on a carrot in your FRQ on the AP exam. All right.
What if it's just this class?
Just this class, I will totally grade it for all of the glory that it is worth. All right. Ficht, we've already talked about. The addresses to the German nation, the really crazy anti-Semitic chop off the Jews' heads and replace them with new heads, like we already did him. We won't talk about that again because he's scary. He's scary as this guy, but it doesn't look as scary. So, romantic poetry. So I've given you my very impartial view of what Romanticism is, because I'm just going to edit out all of that stuff, and this is what people. So romantic poetry is next. So we've talked about how Romanticism is. You must discover yourself. You must march to the beat of your own drum. And so we're now going to see how they use that in poetry, because romantics are going to say that poetry is supreme over all other literary forms. I think that this is where it gets me. I don't know if I like poetry. I like to read it. My best friend was amazing at creating it. And we were always really competitive. Like, we were always in competition for, like, the top 2 spots in the school, or these scholarships, or this award. And she could write poetry like no other, and I'm just like I need, like, one of those mother poems. M is for my life. O is for, like, that's me. And so I don't know if my hatred for romantic poetry came from romantics' vast love for poetry. They think it's the ultimate, most, like, the supreme way to express yourself. It's how your soul is released, which is important to romantic. So in Germany, Friedrich von Schiller is going to write about achieving freedom through the aesthetic of beauty. He's going to say only through beauty can man make his way to freedom. Whatever. Only through beauty. I don't know. You have to be beautiful to be free. I don't know. So, I mean, but that's how they embrace the freedom. He spoke of universal human solidarity. His poem, Ode to Joy, will actually be put to Beethoven's Ninth Symphony as the words. And they're all like, we're all a brotherhood of men. I always think of we are the world. We are. That's kind of the message of his song. Anyway, so Johann Wolfgang von Goethe is going to give us Faust. He seems to criticize. I threw gardens in here. Cause see, would you rather like have this view? This is neoclassicism. This is structured when you looked out your window. This is Versailles. Or would you rather stumble through this garden and break your leg? I said I was just gonna go there.
That's a really suspicious shed in the back. I wouldn't want to go up that path to that shed. That's like a Ted Bundy shed.
Yeah. I guess, I don't know. Maybe to me that's just like I'll throw the seeds here, and I throw the seeds here. I don't know. Yeah. The earth will take care of the storm and the stress. So, Gupta we're going to come back to. He's in literature too, so we won't spend a lot of time here. Okay? So, did I skip? Oh, I skipped all the way down to Sir William Scott. Blue. All right, well, ignore it. You have it typed up for you, so I guess. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's the plot of the story. Is like selling your soul. I guess I can clarify here. I've typed it up for you in literature too. The plot of this story is the main character makes a deal with the devil. It's about selling one's soul, which the soul is everything that's important to romantic. I'll come back to like how that relates to the yes. Ooh, yeah. And we will kind of talk about that when we talk about Joanne. Yeah. Selling your soul. Yeah. So that theme. Yeah. So, England, we have 2 guys here. You don't hear a lot about them. But they're going to kind of change the way poetry is, and then you hear about the people that wrote after them. Their name is William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and they are going to deeply be influenced by Rousseau. They are going to publish lyrical ballads, one of the most influential literary works in the history of the English language. How many people have you heard of it in their English class? So while it's one of the most influential, the authors that come after it just get more credit because of their work. Instead of the rules of poetry, like there's rules, I'm sure you've had the rules of all the different poetry, they come up with free verse poetry. There is no rules, so they just go with this free verse poetry. That's what they just, it's just like the garden, just throw the seeds around, just throw a word here, throw a word there, and you think that that'd be easy. I think that's harder. Give me rules. M is for mother. Oh, like, so they are said in one of their poems, instead of measuring the mountain, feel the mountain. You're not feeling, instead of measuring the onion, Matt, feel the onion. Yeah. See, I just really feel like maybe someday when the world goes very wrong, that somehow it's going to be linked back to the cynical view of Romanticism that I gave all of you. But then the good part is you'll, like, I don't know, good or bad, if you start a revolution, dang it, you're going to plan it and finish it. So either way. All right, Sir Walter Scott. He's Scottish. Long narrative poems and historical novels. You have probably read some things by Sir Walter Scott. We have Rob Roy. We have Ivanhoe. Story of a fight between Saxon and Norman kings in the medieval England. So back to the medieval ages again. Romantics love this time period. Represented the Romantics' interest in history. Not all of history. The romantic parts of history. They pull out the stuff they like. Lord Byron.
What?
Lord. That's killing me today, Matt. Have you been drinking water all day, or were there like 400 sodas before the water?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
So who was the judge?
Lord Byron embodied this melancholy romantic figure. He writes about the idealized but flawed hero. So he's just, all kind of melancholy. He has a very interesting history. He was a bisexual, but he he also had many affairs with women, married women, but also young boys. And he is quoted for bragging in his literature that he had sex with 250 women in Venice in 1 year. Just in Venice, 250. He brags about this. He gives us the poem Don Juan, and in that poem, he says Don Juan's not a womanizer. It's like, how can he help himself when so many women find him attractive? They're just throwing themselves at him. I mean, really, it's his responsibility to, not let all of these women down. So, Don Juan is his poem.
Oh, yeah. That's true. She's like, who's Lord Byron? So I was actually using it because I was talking about, the homoerotic moments in The Gold Man and the Sea.
Oh, yeah.
That I
That's
found.
good.
And she was like, I was like, it's very Byronic and Rachel. She's like,
Oh, yeah, he sneaks. He sneaks it all. I love the rest of his history, too, like his marriages, which is where I'm getting ready to go. I think Sadie might be going there, too. Yes.
I have that book.
Yeah.
Not personally, it's in my house. Okay. I didn't go buy the book myself.
Yeah.
Oh,
Man, these romantic letters that come from this time period, and with Valentine's Day coming up, they're interviewing me tonight for the P&G on St. Valentine. I'm totally going, because there's lots of theories, I'm totally going with it's a pagan holiday. They were deer carcasses were dripped in blood, and then women touched them for fertility, and then their names were drawn out of a hat to go with a man that night. That is where, yeah, I'm like, let's get one out of. I mean, there is this Saint Valentine's Day, but like all of the love letters that are coming up online now, and it's not that I don't appreciate romance and things. It just, yeah, yes, like if someone really sent you a letter like that, maybe we're just like maybe it's not my fault. Like the Hallmark industry has made me cynical towards all romantic motions. I don't know. But like if someone wrote me a letter, like Lord Byron's letter, I would be like, you need to find someone else. This isn't going to work. You're kind of crazy, so you should probably seek help. And then please delete me in every context possible. Yeah. The Dove program will be hearing about you. I'm sure you're going to be stalking me. Like, that's how I would feel about it. Like,
300 emails later.
so, but he did get married to women, to two 16-year-olds. Both of his wives were 16 when he married them. One of his wives is Mary Shelley. He is one of the influences. He's actually having an affair with her when she is writing Frankenstein. They're on that holiday, like close to the holiday thing together. And so very romantic Frankenstein. One of the only works, not the only work, there are some romantic literature that that go more towards nature and like the brutality of nature that I like. Like I guess I just like it when it's brutal and sad and like horrible. Like give me the real thing. Don't like sugarcoat it and like, but very romantic novel, Frankenstein. Very Industrial Revolution, very like. Oh yeah.
I almost said Mary Shelley. I'm so mad at myself.
Oh no, go with your first instinct. Mary Shelley. But
How could she resist that?
let us talk about how Lord Byron died. Maybe it's something Matt won't know. No, she did not kill him. He was such a romantic. You remember the Greek Revolution we talked about? He gets so inspired about these Greeks revolting, and it's the cradle of civilization. I must go help. I'm not Greek, but I'm going. And he died. Oh, wait, no, that's not him. Wait, I've got him confused. No, that's him. That's totally Byron. Yeah, okay. So he goes. He's only 36 years old, and he's struck down in battle for a battle that was not his, and they do not win. Or they win, but not like really one of our big victories. And so, yeah. So Lord Byron. There you go. Our next. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to totally redo this. I totally went. So Lord Byron. Did I skip ahead? I always get Shelley and Byron like smushed together because they're same time period and remind me of each other. So, no, skip the thing about Byron. He just died in the Greek independence thing. What I was really trying to get to was Shelley, which would make sense that he's married to Mary Shelley since his last name is Shelley. So just draw a little arrow from the thing. I got so carried away with Byron and then the homoerotic sexuality thing and the love affairs that I just got all excited and wanted to throw Mary Shelley in there, but she wasn't playing that game. So Percy Shelley was married to two 16-year-old women. Second one is Mary Shelley. He is with her when Frankenstein romantic novel is written. No, never with Byron. Sorry. Yeah. I got so excited about Byron, and then there was lettuce, and then, yeah, things got, yeah. Anyway, Prometheus Unbound is Shelley's work. It details the revolt of humans against, that's where I go. His book is about revolting. Byron's book is not about revolting, and I get them switched. All right, so he's against a society that oppresses anyone. His death, though, also fantastic. They blend together for me. Byron, so dies in the Greek, goes off all romantic style, like dies in battle, like very Middle Ages, like going off. Shelley is going to die. Not I always want to say drowns on a boat, but you're not on a boat if you drown. But he's actually on a boat called Don Juan, which is Byron's poem. He's on this boat, falls off this boat, drowns. So they're like very intertwined. It's like one of those weird like JFK Abraham Lincoln things. Yes. What? He was 1792 to 1822. Yeah. And so, very weird connection. But what are the chances that same time period, same writers, on a, yeah, on a, both in their 30s, on a boat called the Don Juan, falls off said boat, drowns in nature, which is a huge theme. But Lord Byron talked more about nature. Shelley talked more about revolutions. Byron died in a revolution. Shelley dies by nature. They're weird, so they always like, yeah. Yes, ma'am. The first 16-year-old, I think, either died in childbirth or their marriage was dissolved. I can't remember. She wasn't like, once you hear Mary Shelley's the next wife, you kind of just, yeah. She wasn't like an important literary, poor girl. She probably got tired of all the other women. I mean, when you're bragging about 250 women just in Venice, it might be time to pack your bags and go. Like, he's obviously not sticking around home.
I want to
So,
invite you guys all to my gallery showing.
lettuce, onion, and carrot.
Oh,
So,
I decided
next is literature. So, literature, students sometimes argue with me, like, why didn't you just put literature all together with poetry? There's a difference. There's some, it's kind of like a rectangle and square thing. There are some poets who will also write literature, but there are some authors who will never write poetry. So it doesn't go back and forth. They're not just both because they're in this time period. So George Sand is a pen name of our only female author that we'll talk about here. Her name was Amadine Aurora Lucy Dupin, and she emphasized themes of the romantic love of nature and moral idealism. This is her as she was younger and then older, but a romantic writer. Pen name, though, a man, so that she could get her things published. And then here's Goethe again. This is a Faust guy that we were talking about that Laura's like, so what's this thing about selling your soul to the devil? And so his book is still widely published. You can tell this is a very modern cover. But Sorrows of a Young Werther is probably my favorite over Faust. Werther is the main character. He personifies the romantic heroes who's misunderstood and rejected by society, but he stays true to himself. So he's rejected, but he's one of those people that's still going to march to his own drum. He doesn't change to please anyone, and he follows his heart. It is written as a series of letters, so it's kind of cool in that way. Like like Frankenstein starts as a series of letters, so it's written kind of in that theme. And so what happens is he falls fully in love with this woman, like head over heels, following his heart. He then becomes friends with her and her husband, so she's married. And as he gets to know them, he comes to realize he will never be able to be with her, and he commits suicide. And so it's this very like follow your heart, but if you can't get what your heart desires, then there's the storm. Yeah. So, I mean, worth looking at if you're, and I mean, as you can tell how much I love Romanticism, actually did not throw these books down and stomp away. So, Faust is in 1806. It's a tragic drama. Like I had mentioned earlier, he sells his soul to the devil in return for the acquisition of all human knowledge. It demonstrates romantic criticism of Enlightenment's rationality and empiricism is what he's trying to do. It's kind of satirical here and critical. But he is perhaps the greatest of the German romantic authors. I would say that his books have been the most widely read. Victor Hugo, yes. Here we are. We're going to include them. They're next page. I would say, like, novel-wise, the fairy tales I kind of separate into a collection of folk stories. So we can't, another difference, Laura, I'm going to tell you when we get there, too, is they took these stories, they collected them because they were spread orally, so they weren't their original their recordings. So Victor Hugo gave us The Hunchback of Notre Dame and Les Mis. And so, of course, romantic revolutions, Les Mis. But The Hunchback of Notre Dame would say that even ugly can be art, kind of the purpose there with Romanticism. Oh, there's Faust. I didn't show the cover. I think the cover's really cool for selling your soul to the devil. Yeah. But then The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Les Mis. So, the Disney movie? Yeah. So, Romanticism was evident with fantastic characters, strange settings, and human emotions, all about emotion. Like Les Mis, it's like, I mean, how many times can you rip your heart out and stomp on it a couple times? But Yes. Ah. And then next one that I like, actually, for as cynical as I am about romanticism, love Grimm's fairy tales because it's about the sorrow and the storm. Like, if you ever taken a Disney movie that you've watched and look back at the actual fairy tale, holy crap! Like, there it is, some dark, twisted. I have left a link on Edmodo with your homework assignment that is like, go for it. Read the original. Um, they're a collection of German folk stories. That's Romanticism started. The Grimm brothers, Jacob and Wilhelm, were influenced by Herder's views about preserving songs and sayings in German. So it's very nationalistic. It's two of our isms together, nationalism and romanticism. You would do an awesome job by mentioning these in a FRQ and tying it to nationalism as well. Here. Okay, so that, we're at 35. Ooh, I'm a little bit over. I just have art left. I might save music for an Edmodo assignment. So, art. Reaction to the emotionless structured art of neoclassicism. We are going to see romantic art. This is Friedrich. He gives us Wanderers Above the Mist here. So it's very like the nature. I almost think like this, to me, totally every time I look at it, I have to think, is this a cover for Frankenstein? And I'm like, no, it's not the cover for Frankenstein, because it always reminds me of one of the cover copies of Frankenstein. He gives a mystical view of the sublime power of nature that was conveyed in his paintings. Like, this is called Cemetery. I think this is called Morning Mist. And so very much the nature just by itself alone. Like, I really like this Cemetery one. And this one, too, it's kind of the man of the mist, above the mist. Eugene Delacroix is going to give us a painting you should be very familiar with from the Revolutionary time period. He's the most famous French Romantic painter. It is thought that he is the illegitimate son of Talleyrand, our French diplomat at the Congress of Vienna. And so, of course, he is giving everyone following liberty, the middle-class gentleman, the bourgeoisie gentleman, the poor peasant. So everyone is following liberty, very romantic, idealized of the Revolutionary period. Dramatic use of color he is known for, and this is his most famous work. Jericho is going to give us, this is one of my favorite, this isn't a great, I couldn't find a picture that would look really great. If you get a chance to see it in any museum catalog, everything was like copyrighted there, so I couldn't pull it off for a PowerPoint. But this is the raft of Medusa, and it's based on an actual shipwreck off the coast of Africa, and just shows the storm, the trials of nature, like how brutal it can be, how harsh it can be. Themes of power of nature and man's attempt to survive it. Don't control it. You're not controlling it. And I think it was this shipwreck that you can actually like see that they ate part of the survivors to stay alive. I believe it was like that horrific. So next we have our English gentleman, J.M.W. Turner. He depicts nature's power and terror, although nothing in this terrifies me. I like it too. Like, it's just like, it reminds me of like when you're sitting in a doctor's office and you just like want to zone out and you just want a soft picture to stare at. Yeah, it's like, yeah. I don't know. It doesn't terrify me. Maybe I haven't picked the right pieces of his art, but I didn't see anything. He does have some wild storms and sinking ships, but maybe it's because I like Raft of the Medusa so much that I'm like, your ships aren't scaring me. Like here, like this is supposed to be a shipwreck. See the ship? And like it's in the water. Like that doesn't scare me. I'm like, oh, look at the poor ship with the waves. I don't know. There's probably something wrong with me, and they'll find out later, and they'll come back to this lecture for like scientific proof. But so it's all right, right? Yeah, John. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So Matt's totally getting me committed. So I stop every 2 seconds to talk about a carrot and an onion and lettuce. All right. So, all right, and a kumquat. Just building their evidence. Give me the room on the east side. I don't know. So John Constable painted rural English landscapes in which human beings were at one with their environment. So look, they're sleeping here on the grass. They're one with their nature. These remind me of paintings my grandma would have in her house.
It's like a cover photo for
Yeah.
The Hobbit.
So, up to music. I'm going to cover most of the music on Edmodo. Because why you want to hear music anyway. Since I'm really getting at my time. I'm almost 40 minutes now. But Romantic music places a strong connection with emotion as well as nationalism, which is conveyed through the use of national folk songs. It's definitely like, here's my nation, very national. We kind of saw that at the end of the 18th century too with some of the music, like you're not to include this language with this opera, and you are to talk about just these themes. But Beethoven is our transitional figure between the classical and romantic eras. It's really when he loses his hearing that he becomes a romantic composer. It is said of him by Wagner that when he becomes deaf, that he loses the outside distractions and he hears the harmony of his soul, and that's all he can hear. So that's what is said of Beethoven in that time period. This is a reactionary time period to classical music, our romantic era. And Beethoven will be one of the first composers to convey inner human emotion through music. However, it takes a while for him to catch on. The people are very confused by his music when they're like, "What is he trying to do?"
Modernism too, but it's so
Yeah.
early that like his grosser view is like his all basically a 12-tone work, which is 100 years ahead of its time.
Yeah. And so people are, I'm not sure what you're trying to do. Yeah.
So it's like, oh.
Yeah. But I mean, like looking back now, I mean he's epitomized as a genius. He was not constrained by patronage as virtually all of his predecessors were. So it didn't matter if I'm like, so he wasn't tied to that. Most of his famous works were actually when he was deaf, which is one of the astounding facts. And he shows really the duality of our age. Even the statue of him shows duality. He's wearing like the suit of the time period, but then also the toga of a Roman, and so there's a duality to Beethoven that you just don't find with other people. He's the first composer to incorporate vocal music in a symphony by using the text to one of Schiller's poems that we talked about, Ode to Joy, and the last movement of his Ninth Symphony. And that's in 1824. I forgot to type a date in there for you, 1824. And I think that I'll stop there, and I'll just put some pieces of work from the other musicians on there. I mean, pretty much you need to know Romanticism, what music is. It's going to be about feeling and emotion and no rules and all of these things. So you'll see that continue on. Let's talk just briefly before we close out on G, F and G, architecture and the connection to politics and revolution. This is kind of where we've been and where we're going. So architecture in the Romantic era we're on page 24. Is going to return back to the Gothic time period. So you can kind of get confused in this time period with architecture. There we go. Architecture, because it's a return to medieval ideals, so you can be like, ooh, is that the Gothic period or is that the Romantic period? It can be kind of hard to see it sometimes. And it will return in some notable cases like the British House of Parliament, which is pictured here in the daytime and at nighttime. And so just keep that in mind, that there could be two time periods you're addressing if you see something that looks Gothic. So, Romanticism's connection to politics and revolution. First of all, the philosophy. Romantics believed in revolutionary movements that would give people more freedom and individual control. So that's why this evolves during the revolutionary period. It supported their nationalistic movements that emphasized culture, traditions, and languages. And revolutionary movements were highly idealized, but not attainable because of lack of planning and organization. And the art of the period tended to idealize these movements. I have broken this down into like France, Germany, and Italy, two of our most popular revolutionary places, in case you should get an FRQ that you would like to break into Romanticism through the arts in each individual revolutionary period. That's going to kind of help you there, and you can read over that yourself. So let's talk homework, and I'll continue recording as we go and what's coming up next. So agenda items. We have finished Romanticism, only one ism left. So for Thursday, we will talk about socialism. We'll go over your letters about socialism. You'll get your DBQ and have work time. I'm planning on socialism is much more familiar to you. It will go quickly. So we will do that. Your homework for tonight, and I pulled this up here, is going to be to find something that we have discussed with Romanticism, and you are going to attach either the piece of art, the clip of the music or opera, a snippet of a poem. It can be just a Google image of the painting, but I'd like you to go out and find a piece of romantic art, literature, music, poetry. It can be one we've discussed, and pick your favorite, and you will just attach it here. Okay, so you can attach, as you know, in your posts on Edmodo, you can attach a link, you can attach a file, you can attach a library item, however you'd like to do it. And I'd like you to do that. So here's mine. I attached a link to Brothers Grimm, Fairy Tales, History, Facts, and More. If you enjoy these, it gives you the real version, and it tells you, like, would you like to read a story about a woman who had a beautiful child or two children, and it will guide you through, like, which fairy tale you would want to read. And so my example assignment, this is all I'm requiring you out of length. Grimm's Fairy Tales, a collection of folk tales from Germany that provides a strong example of nationalism and romanticism, 2 of our isms. My favorite tale is that of Little Red Riding Hood because of the multitude of deeper meanings. This is all I'm requiring of you. Tell me why you like it, pick it, share it with the class. You need to finish chapter 16 as well. And then I am going to add a very short, like, here is a piece of this music, here is an example of this composer, video to watch as homework. So these 2 little Edmodo posts I'll add, one tonight over the composers, and then you have this to post on Edmodo. I am giving you the due date, since we are doing socialism, a whole new topic, as this Sunday by midnight. This Sunday by midnight, if you could please watch the composer's video and put a romantic piece of literature, art, poetry, whatever you choose from this time period on Edmodo to share with the class by Sunday at midnight. I would also expect chapter 16 to be completely done by Sunday at midnight as well. And we'll be ready for socialism on Thursday, and Unit 6.2 next week. We'll be finishing Unit 6, which means you should be getting prepared for some study time in class and things like that. So any questions before I turn off the recording? Anything else we need to put on here?